Hello, it's Alan here. I have created an Android database application using Android's default SQLite database, and we're supposed to create an employee database where there are two logins, one for the user and one for the admin. The admin has privileges like insert, edit, delete the user records, and the user has only permissions to view his data. So we'll take a look at the app now. I have mirrored my phone, and yeah. Okay, so this is our main activity. Here I've got two fields, one for the username and one for the password, and I've got a button. So when I simply press login, it's going to ask me for the data, and this I've done using null string check. Okay, and if I insert some random username and password, it's going to say invalid username and password. Alright, so let's first take a look into the admin page. So I've hard-coded the admin's username and password. Let's log in. Okay, this is our admin page. We've got one button which says all, which displays the data of all the user records. This is an edit text field where we insert the user ID. This is a logout button. Here we can add, the admin has the privileges to add, view, delete and edit the user records. So let's add a new username. Let's say 9000. Alright, and I press add. Okay, now I've got in this is the adding page. Actually, I'm going to enter the data of the employee. Say 9000. Name is name, for example, Paul. Paul, department technical, and the designation will make him system engineer. We'll give the password as 9001. Okay, and when I press submit, it's saying adding data for employee 9000. Now if I try to add 9000 again, okay, let's see what error we get. It says ID 9000 already exists, so we don't have redundant IDs because ID is the primary key in our database. So let's say we want to delete someone called 9001 which doesn't exist in our record. It says ID 9001 doesn't exist. You're trying to delete nothing. If you try to simply press view, it's going to say field required because you've not inserted anything here, and as well for edit. Okay, now let's take ID 9000 and view the data. Alright, so here we got employee ID 9000, name is Paul, department technical, and designation system engineer. Alright, now if you want to edit, say edit 9000, three buttons are going to pop up. One is the name, one is the department, and the designation. Let's try to edit Paul's name. Okay, say let's make it David. Okay, and when I click edit name, the name is changed as David and everything else remains the same. Let's say you want to edit the designation, make him HR. Designation, yes, the designation has changed successfully. Let's try to edit something. Let's try to edit department, make him management. Alright, let's try to change his department as well. Alright, so here we got an employee ID. His name is David. David, the department, and his designation. So this is with the edit function. And if we want to view where he is, alright, here we got many. This is the master button. It shows the details of all the employees. Alright, so let's see where Paul is. Alright, I think we found them right there. Okay, so here's employee ID 9000. His password is 9001. The name is David, department management, and designation HR. Now let's try to delete this person 9000. Okay, it says one row deleted, and when we try to view 9000, it's gonna say ID 9000 doesn't exist. Alright, let's just quickly add him. Okay, let's try someone else. Alright, so here we've got employee ID 1212 and password 1000. Let's see how this works. Alright, so we'll try to log in with the employee ID and password is 1000. Let's log out. Okay, successfully logged out. Now employee ID 1212 and password 1000. This is one user I created before. And when we log in, okay, so here it is. This is the user page. It's going to say employee ID, his name, the department he's from, and the designation. So these are the two logins which we were supposed to create, and we've successfully done that. And so yeah, thank you for watching this. Okay, now coming to the code. This is our first page, our username and password page, and this login button here. Let me explain the main activity of Java. Before that, I'll show you how I made that null string checking function. Okay, so here it's going to take in an edit text, this function called check for null. It's taking an edit text as its argument, as its parameter, and here I'm converting that edit text to a string, and then I'm checking if that string is an empty string or a null string. I'm setting that field as an error field, and that's why you saw it's a field required. Okay, and it's going to pop up there. And I'm setting the flag as false. I made a flag called true, a boolean flag called true. I'm setting the flag as false, and I'm returning false. If this is not the condition, I'm gonna return true. And here, if the condition, if alone it returns true, the rest of the code is gonna execute. So here it is. Here in our main activity, I've got one button and two edit text. So using our button here, I say go on click listener. That is the go button and the submit button, sorry, login button, and I'm checking here. I'm running a for loop that is for the two edit texts. I'm checking if they are null. I'm checking that into, I'm putting that in a flag array, and if both the flags are true, I'm saying I'm going to continue with the rest of my code. Okay, so here, as I told you, I have hard coded the admin's login. So if the edit text 1, that is the username, is 1, and the text 2, which is the password, that is pass, the username and password, if this matches, I'm creating an intent, and I'm proceeding to another page, which is admin page. Else, which if it is not the user login, I'm going to check for something called validate. I've written a function in my database handler class, and here it's going to validate if that entered string belongs to the database. If the username and password belong in our database, I'm going to return true. Okay, and then it's going to open the user class. If it doesn't belong in our database, I'm going to come out and I'm going to say invalid username and password, like you saw how I explained in the app when I ran the app. Okay, so here it is. Fine. Next, our admin page. Our admin page basically has this master button which displays the data of all the users, an edit text here which takes the input as the user ID, and add, view, a delete, and edit button. And when I press the edit button, we're going to get three new buttons here, which is edit name, department, and the designation. I've got a little logout button here as well. So same thing I'm doing here. I'm checking if the fields are null, and it's gonna stop the user from proceeding with the code unless he inputs a string, a valid, something valid here. Okay, so yeah, on every button, say for example on the add button, if the ID already exists, like I showed you, if it already exists, it's not going to allow the person to add it again. And that I've done using I've written a method called redundant here. So in this redundant, I'm taking the edit text parameter, I'm taking the text which the user entered, I'm checking with the database. If it is redundant, I'll show you the code in the database handler. If it is redundant, it's going to say ID doesn't exist. I mean, ID already exists, you can't proceed. If the user ID which he entered doesn't exist, then we're going to add it. Alright, so that is with the add button. With the view button, when I click, I'm going to view the data. If again, I'm checking for redundant. If it already exists, it's going to show you, I mean, it's going to display the data. If it doesn't exist, it's going to say the ID doesn't exist. Okay. Then with the delete button, same thing. If the user exists, it's going to delete. If the user doesn't exist, it's not going to delete. It says the user doesn't exist. And when I click the edit button, yeah, so here it is. When I click the edit button, I'm going to make visible three other buttons, which are the edit name, edit department, and the designation. So on the click of edit button, these three are going to come up and they have their own functionalities. It's going to edit their name, their department, and their designation. I've done this using the a function called update department in database handler. I'll show you that. Okay, so on successfully adding a user, I mean when the user creates, when the admin creates a new user, an ID which has never been used before, and he clicks on the add button, it's going to take him to the adding.java. What this adding.java is going to do is, here adding.xml, here the username which we obtained from that field is going to come into here, into this part, username, and then he's going to enter a name, a department, a designation, and a password. Okay, and when all these fields are completely filled, and when you click submit, it's going to add the user. If one of the fields are empty, it's going to say the string is empty and you have to fill that. An error is going to be thrown. Okay, and yeah, so next, user page. When the user logs in, he's going to use this user page, and this is very simple. It depends whether he on the ID he put. For example, he put user ID 2000, so his employee ID is going to be 2000. His name is going to be retrieved from the database. The department is going to be retrieved as well as the designation, and he can click login. So the user only has the functionality to view his data, whereas the admin, he can add, delete, and all that. Okay, so let's take a look at the database handler class, which is our main class. Okay, so here is our database handler. Okay, this is a big class. Okay, here we've extended our SQLite open helper. This is the default constructor, and the constructor for this class. It's taking in context the table name and database name, the factory, and the version. Okay, so here on create, I'm creating a table called employee DBS. It has the fields employee ID, password, employee name, the department, and the designation. It has these fields, and on upgrade, it's going to drop the table and it's going to call the onCreate method. Okay, so first with the add data. So the add data is going to take in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters, and it's going to add like the employee ID. It's going to take the password, the employee name, the department, and the designation. So 5 fields it's going to take in, and it's going to add to our employee table. So that I'm doing by making content values. I'm preparing the content values and I'm inserting it into our database table called employee DBS. Next, string get data. When I want to view, so when I'm clicking the view button, it's going to call this get data method, and this is going to retrieve the data from the database if it exists. If the user ID is a valid ID, it's going to retrieve the database. So I'm putting select star from database where the employee ID is equal to the entered ID. So employee ID is the primary key, so based on that, it's going to take the entire row and it's going to display. I'm concatenating the whole row here, and I am sending it back and returning the string. And here we saw that master button, which looks like the pad, that is going to give all the data of all the users. So if the admin wants to view the data of all the users at one click, he's going to call this master method, and basically that pad button calls this method, and I'm concatenating all. I'm putting select star from employee database, so everything is going to come, and I'm just concatenating all the data and sending it back, and I'm displaying that on the scroll view in that admin page. Alright, and user return. This method is going to retrieve the data for the user and is going to display to the user's page. So on the click of login button, if the user ID and the password matches, it's going to return all these data as separate arrays the user. Okay, and there is this update name, which on the click of the update button, edit name button, this method is going to be called. It's going to run this query called update employee this table, set employee name where employee ID is equal to this employee name. The employee name is going to be changed where it's going to be set, that is going to be updated where the employee ID was given. Okay, same as well for update department and designation, and the button for delete. So delete that row from where the employee ID is equal to question mark, that is the entered employee ID, because I'm taking the employee ID as a parameter here. Same for validate. Validate, initially on the click of the login button, I'm going to check if the password entered is equal to the employee ID. I'm running a raw query here. It says select password from the employee table where ID is equal to this. So all the passwords are going to be retrieved from where the ID is equal to, for example, 2000 was the entered ID. So it's going to retrieve the password for 2000 and it's going to check if the entered password is the same. See here it says if c.0 get string, that is the received password, is equal to y is our inputted password. If these are same, return true, otherwise return false. So unless it's going to be true, the rest of the code won't execute. So if the password doesn't match, it's going to say invalid password. Alright, and checking for redundant. Yeah, I'm checking select star from employee database where employee is equal to this, and I'm going to check if it exists. If the user ID or the password already, if the user ID already exists, it's gonna it's gonna tell them yes, it already exists. It says true. That means the user ID already matches with something in the database, and so you can't use the user ID once again because that is the primary key. If it is false, you can proceed with the rest of the code. And so this is the database application. It is a simple application, but then it took a long time for me to do it. I really enjoyed working on this project, and thank you for watching this video.